Okay, so when I was going over section 202, I brought up accrual and interpose or interposition. And I started thinking about, when you study like Latin roots and they're like, if you understand the Latin roots, you can make out the definition of what the word means. Well, I've been thinking about that word of interposition because I feel like that's a harder term to understand instead of accrual. Accrual makes more sense to me, but interposition like kept kind of like gnawing at me. So I'm going to just read this definition of this root inter. Okay, so it comes from the Latin word meaning among and between. Okay, I'm going to read the rest of the definition, but for me, what's standing out here is the word between and among. It says, and also has a range of possible meanings. Most of these definitions have the word between somewhere in there, between, among, in the midst, reciprocal, located between, carried on between, or occurring between. So I want you to keep that in mind. So now the funny thing is that I'm like, I don't remember where it is in Article 2, but I know it's in Article 2. Well, it happened to be in the next section. The beginning of the next section under Section 203, method of computing periods of limitation generally, is where we have that whole part about accrual. So A, accrual of cause of action and interposition of claim. The time within which an action must be commenced, except as otherwise expressly prescribed, shall be computed from the time the cause of action accrued to the time the claim is interposed. So let's just talk about that. So basically, the computing for the statute of limitations starts from the accrual. Okay, so from the cause of action accrued. That's when it starts, right? The cause of action. So in other words, if you got into that car accident, the cause is the car accident of the action. The action's going to be if you bring a case against someone, right? That's called an action accrued. So it's saying when the event of whatever happened to you that you're suing for happened, that's the start of the statute of limitation. Okay, and then to the time the claim is interposed. Now, I was told that interpose basically means from the time that you file the papers to start the case, right? But let's look at this word interposed, because if I just like break that up, you have inter, which is between or among, and then you have pose. And when I think of pose, I almost think of like the word propose, but I think of posing like when you pose a question or you pose something, it's like you're presenting something, right? That's what I think of. But I want to go back to the definition, but I want to talk about, let's pretend that, it's a tort, it's like a motor vehicle accident, right? And I got injured and I hurt my knee. I'm on this I'm on this road of injury, right? And I'm sitting in this injured space. And then I get to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm getting medical treatment for this, yada, yada, yada. But when I decide that I want to sue someone for this, it's like I'm on this road and I'm posing. It's like I'm coming between that road of injury, right? Which if I just kept going on that road of injury, it would just be me going to doctor's appointments until I got well. And that's all that road would be. But when I file that paper, it's coming between that road, right? So think about the word intersection, right? What is an intersection? An intersection is if I'm on a road and the intersection comes, it's coming among the road and between the road that you're on, and that intersection provides another option or another way to go. right? It's a section of road that's coming between the road that you're on that's giving you another option of direction. So when I think of interposed, I think, hey, this person has an injury and they're now posing with their filing an option, another option for a different conclusion to the road that they're on. So it's almost like they're coming up between and among what's happening with them, and they're posing another option for the conclusion of whatever their injury and how their life is going to turn out living with that injury. So I think of that when I think of interpose. I just don't want to memorize, okay, it means from the time they file. Because if I think from the time they file, am I going to remember that? I just have to kind of remember that and memorize it. But if I really visualize that you're posing another option for yourself. I'm injured, and by me filing this case, I'm posing another option and another way for me to resolve this issue that I have. So that's the way that I like to think of it. I think in my mind of an intersection. What does that word mean? It means that there's a road, and that the section comes among or between the road that I'm on and gives me another option to go this way or that way. Well, when you pose your case and you file your case, you're coming into what already is, you're among it, and you're giving it another option, another way of ending. It's like you're coming in between what your destiny is going to be, and you're giving that destiny a chance for a different way to end, a different conclusion. So it's like you're coming between something, you're interposing, you're posing that this injury you have, you're making a proposition and posing that it can end in a different way. You're coming between what is your current trajectory and trying to change the course of that trajectory by posing or filing an action. Okay, so again, statute of limitations starts from the time the action accrued. So from the time that you got injured or whatever you're suing for happened, from the event of what happened, from that moment, the clock is going to start ticking. Right? And then you have a certain amount of time, that statute of limitations, before you file. When you file, that's the interposition. And that is only the beginning of 203. 203 is an effing beast. I don't really understand everything that's in here, but it's 203 is a long ass section, and I'm hoping that at some point maybe I can figure it all out. I was kind of hitting down here before. Claim to amended pleading. Oh, because this talks about, let's see. So this is section 203, and then number 6, subdivision EF. This is the only thing that made sense to me, so I might as well read it to you. Claim in amended pleading. A claim asserted in an amended pleading is deemed to have been interposed, there it is again, coming between, interposed at the time the claims in the original pleading were interposed, right? So basically, we do this all the time, right? People come in and it's like they made a mistake on their RJI or something, and they have to do an amended RJI, or they have to do an amended motion because they left something out, and then they have to reserve it. And so what this is basically saying is that when you do the amended pleading, right, the amended motion, the amended RJI, a claim asserted in the amended pleading is deemed to have been interposed at the time the claims in the original pleading were interposed. So it's basically saying everything is intact except for that amendment that you made. Then it says, unless the original pleading does not give notice of the transactions, occurrences, or series of transactions or occurrences to be proved pursuant to the amended pleading. So this to me says that there was something vital that was left out of the original. So like it wasn't just like, you know, they left out the return date. It's something that's vital. So they're saying the original is intact as long as it's not something like this, like the basic kind of facts of the action, or like proposed facts, right? Because people are going to state it the way they think it. But let's say maybe the location or the occurrences that happen, or a series of transactions or occurrences to be proved. So those are like pursuant to the amended pleading. So in other words, in alignment with what's necessary. So I think that made a little bit of sense to me out of this whole section 203. But aside from the very beginning and that F under number 6 in 203, the subdivision, then yeah, I'm still trying to figure all this shit out. Anyhow, if anyone has a clue, feel free to let me know.